Welcome to another Compassion Works for All video. I wanted to share some thoughts for moms and dads, and of course, being a mom or a dad is about the hardest job and most important job in the world. I came here the other day to see for the first time a little grandniece named Hazel, who's 3 days old. I took the train up from Grand Central, and she's teeny tiny and beautiful with long black hair. Hazel is very lucky. She has a wonderful mom and dad who are very calm and relaxed. They're very healthy, do outdoor activities. And next door to their little house lives Hazel's grandma and grandpa. And then in the house on the other side is Hazel's aunt and uncle. And they live on a pretty little street. She is very lucky, but of course there's never any guarantee that with everything being as perfect as it can be, that somebody's life is going to be perfect too. When I took the train from Grand Central, just as I was pulling out of the station, 2 sisters came racing onto the train, and one of them had 3 little girls in tow that looked like they were 3 and 2 and 1, and a great big bag of clothes. And the other had 3 little boys that were about 5 and 3 and 1. She had the 2 older boys tied with ropes around their waist to her waist so they wouldn't escape. And as they piled onto the train in a rush, there were hardly any seats left. And one mother of the little girls nudged the 2 little ones that were walking behind her into a seat next to a stranger, and they started screaming out of fear of being pushed into the seat next to somebody they didn't know. And then the other mother was a few seats ahead with the 2 little boys in one seat, and the 2 strollers were in the aisle. And I knew there wasn't a dad in the picture because they carried on a conversation back and forth between them. And the 3 little boys screamed and cried and fought the whole 2-hour journey. The little girls fell asleep. And it was a bit of chaos for the 2-hour ride, and the people sitting next to, especially the little boys, were not too happy. I spent the ride meditating and sending lots of prayers that these 2 mothers, who obviously loved their children but were overwhelmed, could have a life where they could handle all of these children by themselves. And unfortunately, a lot of the train trip was spent with their yelling at the children just as much as the children were yelling and screaming and crying. I knew that they were all living a rather traumatic life. It is a hard job, even if you have one little one like Hazel and family all around you to help. You still have to work and make money. You still have to deal with sleeplessness. You still have to deal with a fussy baby. Hazel is starting out with more pluses in her column, but it doesn't mean that she has an easy life ahead. And these 6 little kids are starting out with more negatives in their column, but it doesn't mean they won't have a long and happy life and all their dreams fulfilled. We never know. But as parents, there are things we can do that we know will help. So let me share a few of those things that maybe can be reminders to all of us for the children we love in our lives. One is, to begin with, give that child from the very beginning lots of love and attention and holding and rocking, and always speak gently, and no yelling, no hitting, no rough behavior, and no abuse, physical, emotional, sexual abuse. And if there is somebody in your life that would or will or has abused your child, even if it is your partner, think very carefully about the damage that will do to that child and try to get the protection you need. Sometimes that's a terrible decision if it's your partner that is abusive towards your child. But we know now that abuse in infancy and childhood damages the brain and makes it very, very hard for that child to ever function successfully and normally. As your child grows up, giving them lots of time and attention and focus and support. If they don't get it at home, they'll get it from the streets or other kids or even gangs. Making sure that that child stays in school until at least high school, graduating from high school, but doing everything we can to get them into college or a trade school, because education is one of the best predictors of success and a good income. Poverty usually comes from a lack of education and ability to have a path towards a future. Children that join gangs or get involved in activities that are illegal usually begin that activity at 10 to 15 years old. That is a crucial time to be very aware of supporting our kids, not yelling and screaming and criticizing them, but listening to them, talking things out, giving them support. So many of the men that I know who are in prison have lost their fathers and have no men in their life to guide them. This is crucial, and they long to have those men to support them. Our little boys on the train, a wonderful man was standing at the door waiting for his stop. And those little boys lit up to have a man to talk to. He was so good to them. You could tell how much they longed just for those few minutes to have a man who would talk to them. And if your child shows any propensity for stress or trauma or unhappiness, depression, then they're very vulnerable to substance abuse, drugs, or alcohol. Stay on top of the very earliest symptoms of any alcohol or drug abuse or addictions of any kind. And if there is somebody in the home that uses drugs or alcohol, that too is abuse. If it's excessive use of drugs and alcohol, that is a modeling for your child, teaches them that that's normal behavior, gives that to them as a pathway to reduce stress. It is very important that they not start that drug or alcohol use, even marijuana, as an early adolescent, because it changes the brain, and their brain will never be normal and function as well as it could. Always being gentle and kind and supportive, and no hitting and no abusive behavior, no trauma as much as you can prevent it, no being around traumatic, scary people, and making sure they stay in school and have a good start on a profession or a job that will give them a good financial future. Love them deeply and tell them you love them every day. Hug them a lot and never hit them or yell at them. Thank you for loving your children and trying to be the wonderful mom or dad that I know you are.